Welcome everyone to our production of the second episode of Prisoner of Azkaban. This is going to be a good one. We have so much in store, and we have so many amazing actors and editors working on this. Our actors have been amazing. Thank you to all of you, and to our amazing editors, and to my lovely co-director, Tim Bone. And so, last episode on Prisoner of Azkaban, we met Harry as it is his birthday, and he's not very happy about his birthday, but then he's happy about his birthday because he gets some presents and some cards for the very first time in his life. And then in the morning, he wakes up and he finds that his horrible Aunt Marge is coming to visit. And he has to behave because otherwise he won't get his sign performed to go to Hogsmeade. So he tries his best to behave while she's here, but it doesn't go well and he blows her up into a big old balloon. So he runs away and he gets caught by the night bus. And then he gets took to the Leaky Cauldron, and he's surprised to find that he is getting off lightly for using magic outside of school, which is a little weird because the last time he did that, or supposedly did that, he was warned that he would be expelled. But anyway, he spends a little more time in Diagon Alley and meets up with the Weasleys and Hermione as they prepare to head to school. Turns out that Scabbers is feeling ill recently. And so at Diagon in the Leaky Cauldron, Harry overhears a conversation between Mrs. and Mrs. Weasley that Sirius Black is after him. And the next day, as they head to the Hogwarts Express, Mr. Weasley tries to tell Harry about it, but he has already overheard, so it's no big deal. And Mr. Weasley warns him to be careful. And with that, thank you, and enjoy the show.
As the Hogwarts Express blasts its horn, we crane over the milling horde of students. Parents hurry their children on board, tiny siblings wave goodbyes, and Mrs. Weasley dashes through the throng and up to an open train window.
Ron!
She hands Scabbers through the open window to him. The aisle teems with students. Harry, Ron, and Hermione work their way down the aisle, looking for an empty compartment.
I need to talk to you guys. In private?
Go away, Ginny.
That's nice.
Nevertheless, Ginny heads off down the compartment, leaving the trio to speak in private.
Okay, what's wrong, Harry?
Well, before I left Private Drive, my Aunt Marge was visiting. She kept saying these awful things about my parents, that I was always destined to be awful. I guess I snapped, because one evening I made her blow up.
Ron and Hermione both give alarmed looks.
I didn't mean to blow her up. I just lost control.
Brilliant!
Honestly, Ron, it's not funny. Harry's lucky he wasn't expelled.
I still think it was brilliant.
I think I was lucky not to be sent to Azkaban, honestly.
A copy of the Monster Book of Monsters scuttles crab-like down the aisle, pursued by Neville Longbottom.
Hi, Harry, Ron, Hermione.
Hi, Neville.
As he bumps past, Hermione nods to a compartment.
Come on, we're in here.
As they slip inside, they find a man in shabby robes, slumped against the window, asleep. He looks ill, exhausted. The trio eye him warily, whisper.
Who do you reckon he is?
Professor R.J. Lupin.
You know everything. How does she know everything?
It's written on his case.
She points. Stamped in peeling letters on a battered case beside the man is Professor R.J. Lupin.
Is he really asleep?
Seems to be. Why? What is it, Harry?
Close the door.
Hermione and Ron exchange a curious glance. Then Ron rises, slides the door shut. Storm clouds, like dark ghosts, toss sheets of rain onto the scarlet engine as it heads north. Ron and Hermione stare at Harry, faces stricken in the lantern light that now glows in the compartment. Crookshanks slumbers in his cage.
Let me get this straight. Sirius Black has escaped from Azkaban to come after you.
That's what Mr. Weasley told me.
But there catch back, won't they? I mean, eventually?
Sure, of course. No one's ever broken out of Azkaban before, and he's a raving murderous lunatic.
You need to be really careful this year then, Harry. Don't go looking for trouble, please.
Well, I don't go looking for trouble. Trouble usually finds me.
Hermione fumbles with the clasps on a cat carrier, getting it open. Crookshanks the cat slinks out. He looks around for a moment before fixing on Ron. He pounces on his leg, where a bulge can be seen in Ron's pocket, where Scabbers the rat is sleeping. Ron shoves Crookshanks away furiously.
Keep that bloody cat away from Scabbers, Hermione. He's been ill, you know.
Just then, the compartment rattles, lanterns flicker, the train lurches, begins to slow. Hermione slides down the seat, pinning Ron against the window. They exchange an awkward glance, then Hermione carefully slides to the other end of the seat and glances at her watch, frowns.
Great. Starving. Can't wait for the feast.
Why we're stopping? We can't be there yet.
Harry rises, slides open the door, peers into the corridor. Harry is all along the carriage, heads look out curiously. Then, the train jerks, the car sways, and the lamps running along the ceiling flicker and die, one by one, until all is dark.
What's going on?
A thin wisp of steam escapes Ron's mouth. Harry notices.
I don't know. Maybe we've broken down.
Ouch! Ron, that was my foot!
Ron, a dark silhouette against the window, wipes a patch of condensation from the window.
There's something moving out there. I think people coming aboard.
Just then the compartment door can be seen, and the silhouette of someone entering the compartment can be seen. Then a crash as someone trips over Harry's legs.
Sorry. Do you have any idea what's going on?
Harry grabs Neville and helps him sit down next to him. Unfortunately, Crookshanks is there as well, and as Neville sits, the cat screeches and runs over to Hermione.
Don't know, Neville. Sit tight. Let's hope this ends soon.
Suddenly the car sways violently, rights itself. The metal window trim at Ron's fingerprints begin to vibrate.
Bloody hell, what's happening?
The compartment door opens once again, and this time it's Ginny, who rams into a suitcase and onto Hermione.
Who's that?
Hermione,
Ginny, what are you doing?
I was looking for Ron.
Come on, sit down.
She tries to sit down on Neville, but she stops him.
No, I'm here.
A soft crackling fills the car and flames bloom in the hands of R.J. Lupin. In the shivering light, his face looks tired and grey, but his eyes are alert, wary.
Right. Now it moves.
A hand, slimy and scabbed, a hand of death, grips the compartment door, still half open from when Ginny entered, pushes it aside. Standing there is a towering, cloaked figure, its face hidden beneath its black hood. Crookshank's hair rises as he hisses. The folds of the hood tremble. A chill rattling intake of air is heard. The flames in Lupin's hands sputter. A sound swells in Harry's ears, eerie, painful. The sound of a woman screaming. Harry's eyes roll up, eyelids fluttering. And then, a silvery white light drifts from his mouth. The world spins off its axis and Harry falls, glasses tumbling hard to the ground. Then Harry, the muscles of his jaw twitching. Thunder cracks. Lightning paints the icy windows, and then everything goes black for Harry. With a desperate gasp, Harry opens his eyes, blinks. Dusk is gone, the windows black. The floor at his spine is shaking gently. The train moving again. His eyes shift, see a drop of water, newly unfrozen, running slowly down the window.
Harry, are you alright?
Hermione's troubled face hovers above him. He nods, sits up. Ron, pale, nervous, extends his hand. Harry's glasses.
Thanks.
Harry slips them on, discovers the cold sweat glazing his brow. Looking around the compartment, he sees everyone staring at him anxiously, except for Ginny, who huddles in the corner of the seat, shaking slightly. Professor Lupin breaks a ragged triangle of chocolate off the slab in his hands and holds it out to Harry.
Chocolate. Eat up.
What was that? That thing.
A Dementor. One of the guards of Azkaban. It's gone now.
Harry frowns in confusion.
It was searching a train, Harry, for Sirius Black.
I need to have word with the driver. Excuse me? You don't know.
As he leaves, Harry turns to Ron and Hermione.
What happened to me?
Well, you sort of went rigid. We thought maybe you were having a fit or something.
And then either of you, passed out?
No. I felt weird. Like I'd never be cheerful again. But, no. Ginny was shaking like mad though.
Harry turns to Hermione. She shakes her head as she puts a comforting arm around Ginny.
I was trembling, cold, but then Professor Lupin made it go away. He was quite brilliant. He stood up and said, "None of us is hiding Sirius Black under our cloaks." And then, when it didn't listen, he cast some spar and something silvery shot out of it, and the Dementor sort of clattered away.
Someone was screaming. A woman.
Hermione and Ron glance nervously at each other.
No one was screaming, Harry.
Harry looks to the window, taking a small bite of the chocolate Professor Lupin gave him. It doesn't make him feel completely better, but the warmth spreads through him, taking the edge off the event. As the students approach the castle in the carriages, Professor McGonagall waits for them. She greets students as they get out and head inside, out of the cold. Spotting the trio in the crowds, she calls out,
Miss Granger, I need a word with you, please.
Hermione gives the boys a wave and heads off with McGonagall. Everyone else heads into the castle and into the Great Hall. At the high table, Lupin sits with Severus Snape, McGonagall, Rubeus Hagrid, and Albus Dumbledore. Argus Filch, Hogwarts' caretaker, stands grimly to the side as red-eyed Mrs. Norris switches her tail at his feet. The students flood in, finding seats at their respective house tables. As the last of the students takes their seats, Dumbledore rises, beaming over the sea of black hats.
Welcome to another year at Hogwarts. I have a few things to say now that we have all eaten our fill. First, I am pleased to welcome Professor R.J. Lupin, who has kindly consented to fill the post of Defense Against the Dark Arts. Good luck to you, Professor.
Amid scattered applause, Harry, Ron and Hermione, back from their talk with McGonagall, clap loudly.
Of course, that's why I need to give you the chocolate, Harry.
As some of you may know, Professor Kettleburn, our Care of Magical Creatures professor for many years, has decided to retire in order to spend more time with his remaining limbs. Fortunately, I am delighted to announce that his place will be filled by none other than our own Rubeus Hagrid.
Harry, Ron and Hermione stare at each other, stunned, then applaud vigorously. Hagrid turns ruby red, rises, and nearly topples the staff table, sending water goblets weaving. Professor Flitwick glares at him.
We should have known. Who else will sign us a biting book?
Dumbledore holds his hands up, regaining the students' attention.
On a more disquieting note, Hogwarts, at the request of the Ministry of Magic, will, until further notice, play host to the Dementors of Azkaban.
A murmur of apprehension fills the hall.
The Dementors will be stationed at the entrance to the grounds. While they are under strict orders not to enter the castle itself, you will on occasion see them as you go about your daily activities. Under no circumstances are you to approach them. It is not in the nature of a Dementor to be forgiving.
The students let this sink in, the good mood of the feast ruined. However, Dumbledore has no more to say. The teachers leave the hall, and the students shortly follow. Harry, Ron and Hermione are eating breakfast, checking over their course schedules for this term.
Oh good, we're starting some new subjects today.
Ron looks over, catching a glimpse of her schedule.
Hermione, they've messed up your schedule. They've got you down for about 10 subjects a day. There's no time for that.
I manage. I fix it with McGonagall. That's what you wanted to talk to me about last night.
But look! See, this morning, 9 o'clock, divination. And underneath, 9 o'clock, Muggle studies. And look, underneath that, arithmancy, 9 o'clock. I mean, I know you're good, Hermione, but no one's that good. How are you supposed to be in 3 classes at once?
I'll manage, of course, and don't worry. I told you, I fix it with McGonagall.
Her expression indicates that the discussion is closed, despite Ron's attempts to keep it up.
We better go. We've got divination. That's all the way up to the North Tower.
Harry, Ron and Hermione sit on fat little puffs in a murky, incense-laden room, along with Neville, Dean, Seamus, Lavender Brown, Parvati Patil and others. They wait for their professor. A crimson scrim flutters and Sybil Trelawney, divination professor, glides dramatically into view, eyes huge and bug-like behind enormous glasses.
Welcome, my children. How lovely to see you all in the physical realm at last. In this room, we shall explore the mysterious art of divination. In this room, you shall discover that you possess the sight. I am Professor Trelawney. Together, we shall cast ourselves into the future. But know this, one either has the gift or not. It cannot be divined from pages of a book. Books only cloud one's inner eye.
What rubbish.
Ron spins, frowns at Hermione. He hadn't noticed her before.
Where'd you come from?
Me? I've been here all along.
You, boy, is your grandmother well?
I think so.
I wouldn't be so sure of that, dear. The first term will be devoted to the reading of tea leaves. If all goes well, we will proceed to palmistry, fire omens, and finally, the crystal bowl. By the way, dear, beware a red-haired man.
Parvati eyes Ron dubiously, edges her puff away.
Unfortunately, classes will be disrupted in February by a nasty bout of flu. I myself will lose my voice. And in late spring, one of our number will leave us forever.
As the class exchanges uneasy glances, Trelawney smiles brightly.
Well then, shall we?
Harry, sitting opposite Ron now, frowns at the dregs of leaves at the bottom of a teacup. He consults the symbols in the textbook, unfogging the future. At his elbow, Trelawney walks amongst them, robes flowing.
Broaden your minds, my dears, and allow your eyes to see beyond.
Trelawney takes Lavender Brown's cup, peers inside.
A 5-leaf clover? You can expect to wake with a horrible rush tomorrow morning, dear. And incidentally, that thing you are dreading, it will happen on the 16th of October. Mr. Longbottom, after you have broken your first cup...
Neville fumbles the cup in his hands and the brittle crash of china is heard.
Would you be so kind as to select one of the blue ones? I'm rather partial to the pink. What do you see in Mr. Potter's cup, Mr. Weasley?
Well, he's got a wonky sort of cross. Less trials and suffering. But this lot here could be the sun. That's great happiness. So, he's going to suffer, but be very happy about it.
Professor Trelawney takes the cup, peers inside, and gasps, nearly dropping the cup.
What is it, Professor?
Trelawney regards Harry with a mixture of pity and fear.
My dear boy, you have the grim.
The grin? What's the grin?
Not the grin, you idiot. The grim.
But what does it mean, Professor?
The grim.
All turn, see Lavender bent over her textbook.
Taking the form of a giant spectral, it is among the darkest omens in our world. It is an omen
Of death.
Harry peers into his cup. The tea leaves shift, the dog disappears, and a new image emerges slowly. Sirius Black. Professor McGonagall writes something on the chalkboard. When none of the students do much, she transforms into her animagus form, just for shock value. Still no one responds.
Well, really, what has gotten into you all today? Not that it really matters, but that is the first time my transfiguration has not gotten a standing ovation from a class.
Professor, we have been just from our first divination class, and...
McGonagall doesn't need to hear more.
I see, then tell me, which of you will be dying this year?
No one speaks, and then Harry raises his hand.
Me.
Then you should know, Potter, that Sybil Trelawney has predicted the death of one student a year since she arrived at the school. None of them have died yet, seeing dead omens. is her favorite way of greeting a new class, if it were not for the fact that I never speak ill of my comrades. Divination is one of the most imprecise branches of magic. I shall not conceal from you that I have very little patience with it. True seers are very rare, and Professor Trelawney, you look in excellent health to me, Potter, so you will excuse me if I don't let you off homework today. I assure you that if you die, you need not hand it in.
Everyone laughs at this, and even Harry breathes a sigh of relief. The trio emerge from the bridge and make their way toward Hagrid's hut. The Whomping Willow looms in the distance. Students gather around Hagrid as Harry, Ron and Hermione arrive. Draco, Crabbe and Goyle stand with the Slytherins.
Come on now, get a move on. Got a real treat for you. Great lesson coming up. Follow me. Come on now.
Hagrid leads them towards a small paddock just this side of the Forbidden Forest. In the paddock, a freestanding iron rack hangs with dead ferrets, buzzing with flies. Nearby is a pumpkin patch.
Get around. Find yourself a spot. That's it. Now, first thing you want to do is open your books.
And exactly how do we do that?
Hagrid looks. Belts, rope, spellotape. Any means available have been employed to bridle the monster book of monsters, which quiver violently.
Craigie, didn't you know? All you got to do is stroke 'em. Look.
Hagrid takes Hermione's copy, snaps the spellotape binding it. As it begins to bite, Hagrid calmly runs a forefinger down the book's spine and it shivers, falls quietly open. Hagrid glances at the class, looking suddenly unsure.
Right, so you got your books, and you need the magical creatures, right? Right. So I'll go and get them.
Hagrid turns, disappears into the trees. Draco shakes his head, speaks loudly to Crabbe and Goyle.
God, this place is going to the dogs. Wait until my father hears Dumbledore's got this oaf teaching classes.
Listen, you stupid prat.
Eyes widening in fear, Malfoy steps back, points.
Potter, there's a Dementor behind you.
Harry jumps, wheels in fear, finds nothing. Instantly, the Slytherins make an eerie ooh and ooh sound, then break up laughing. Harry reddens, embarrassed. Then, a strange beast emerges from the trees. It has the torso, hind legs, and tail of a horse, but the front legs, wings and head of a giant eagle. He really is beautiful. The students step back in fear. Then Hagrid appears, shooing the beast on.
Isn't he beautiful? Raising from an hatchling.
There seems no consensus on this, but the students stare in wary wonder nonetheless. As Hagrid coaxes the beast to the center of the paddock, Ron stares uneasily.
Hagrid, exactly what is that?
A hippogriff, of course. Now, first thing you got to know is they're proud. Easily offended, hippogriffs are. Don't never insult one, because it might be the last thing you do. Right then, who wants to come and say hello?
The entire class steps back, leaving Harry in front.
Good man, Harry.
Harry looks around, then, reluctantly, approaches.
Oh, no, Harry. Remember your tea leaves?
That's it. Easy now. Stop. This here's Buckbeak, Harry. You're one to make the first move. It's polite, see? Just take a step forward, give him a bow, and if Buckbeak bows back, you're allowed to touch him. Ready?
Unsure, Harry nods anyway, steps forward, and bows. Buckbeak's head cocks, eagle eye studying Harry cannily. Harry waits, and waits.
Back off, Harry! Back off!
Harry starts to step back, when Buckbeak ducks his beak. Hagrid sighs, relieved.
Well done, Harry. Go on, give him a pat.
Tentatively, Harry reaches out, lays his hand on Buckbeak's fierce beak. The class claps. Harry smiles.
Look at that. I reckon he might let you ride him.
Excuse me?
We'll just set you behind the wing joint. Mind you, don't pull any feathers out. He won't like that.
Hagrid lifts Harry high, drops him onto Buckbeak's back, and before Harry's settled, slaps Buckbeak's hindquarters. As Buckbeak gallops forward, Harry slides scarily back. Giant wings unfold, huge and powerful, and they soar into the air, rising higher and higher and higher. First, the experience is terrifying. Harry grips Buckbeak tightly. Gradually, Harry loosens his hold on Buckbeak's neck, losing himself in the joy of flying, smiling at the sight of his Buckbeak's shadow racing across the grass below, circling over the Whomping Willow, past Hogwarts Castle, and then swooping, with heart-stopping speed, over the Black Lake. Buckbeak's talons tickling the smooth glass of the water, summoning the giant squid to the surface briefly. Hagrid whistles then, and Buckbeak wheels, beating his way back to the paddock, galloping to a halt. As Harry slides off, the class cheers, all except Draco, who narrows his eyes maliciously.
Good work, Harry. How am I doing for my first day?
Brilliant, Professor.
They both grin when Draco pushes past them roughly, strides toward Buckbeak.
Give me a go at that thing. If Potter can do it, it must be easy. You're not dangerous at all, are you, you great ugly brute?
Malfoy, no!
But he's too late. In a flash, Buckbeak's steely talons slash down. Malfoy freezes, looks down at the blood blossoming on his robes, shrieks. Instantly, Harry dashes forward. Buckbeak whips around, raises its taloned end, seeing Harry, lowers them. Ducks its beak. Harry, realizing what he's done, breathes.
It's killed me! It's killed me!
Calm yourself. You're fine. Just a scratch.
Hagrid looks. A deep gash glistens on Draco's limp arm.
Hagrid, he's got to be taken to a hospital. I'll go with you if you like.
Nope. I'm the teacher. You'll all just... Class dismissed. Class dismissed.
And with that, Hagrid, looking shaken, swoops up Malfoy, flops him over his shoulder, and lumbers toward the castle. As Lavender and Parvati huddle over a dozen teacups, avidly interpreting patterns in hushed voices, Draco, arm bound in a sling, holds court before a clot of Slytherin girls.
Does it hurt terribly, Draco?
It comes and goes. Still, I consider myself lucky. According to Madame Pomfrey, another minute or two, and I could have lost the arm.
Harry, Ron, and Hermione watch from the Gryffindor table.
The little kid. He's really laying it on thick, isn't he?
At least Hagrid has been sacked.
Yes, but I hear Draco's father's furious. I don't think we've heard the end of this.
He's been cited.
They turn. Seamus runs into the Great Hall, waving a copy of the Daily Prophet.
Who?
But the photograph on the Prophet's front page provides a chilling answer. Sirius Black. Hermione reads over the shoulders of others, whispers half to herself.
Akinti? That's not far from here.
You don't think he'll come to Hogwarts, do you?
With the Dementors at every entrance.
Dementors? He's already slipped poison once, hasn't he? Who's to say he can't do it again?
Students chatter nervously about the new sighting of Black. As Snape sweeps into the classroom, everyone goes quiet.
You will open your books to page 19. We will be brewing a shrinking solution today.
Everyone sets to work getting their cauldrons set up, gathering ingredients, etc. Draco forces himself in between Ron and Harry. He raises the hand not in a sling.
Professor, I need help cutting up these daisy roots. My arm, see?
Snape doesn't even look up.
Weasley, cut up Malfoy's roots for him.
Ron flushes and turns angrily to Malfoy.
There's nothing wrong with your arm.
Malfoy grins slyly.
You heard Professor Snape, Weasley. Cut up these roots.
Furious, Ron obliges, dicing up the fragile daisy roots with a small knife. Malfoy then turns to Harry.
I'm surprised at you, Potter. If it were me, I wouldn't just be sitting here being a good little student. I'd want to do something about it. I'd want revenge.
Harry rolls his eyes. Clearly, this is another trick of Malfoy's.
What are you talking about, Malfoy?
Black sighting. He's nearby. If it were me, I'd be out there looking for him. But St. Potter wants to keep his nose clean, I expect.
Before they are able to speak anymore, they are interrupted by Snape as he walks around the room examining potions, looking over Neville's potion.
Orange, Longbottom, does anything penetrate your brain? Didn't you read quite clearly that only one cat's spleen was needed? Doesn't the text state plainly that a dash of leech juice would suffice? What do I have to do to make you understand, Longbottom?
Indeed, the potion in Neville's cauldron is a lurid orange. Neville stares at it, the back at Snape, despair written all over his face.
Please, sir, I can help him fix it.
Was I speaking to you, Miss Granger? Longbottom, at the end of this lesson, we will feed a few drops of this potion to your toad and see what happens. Perhaps that will encourage you to do it properly.
Snape strides back to his desk. Neville turns to Hermione, a look of sheer panic on his face. He mouths, "Help me," to her. Harry turns back to Ron.
What did Malfoy mean? Why would I want revenge on Black? He hasn't done anything to me.
Oh, he's just making it up. He's trying to make you do something reckless.
The class heads back to work after the excitement. A while later, Snape stands before Neville's cauldron. He holds a vial of Neville's potion, now a light green. In the other hand, he holds Trevor, Neville's toad.
Look closely, everyone, and watch what happens to Longbottom's toad. If he has managed to produce a shrinking solution, it will shrink to a tadpole. If, as I don't doubt, he has done it wrong, his toad is likely to be poisoned.
Snape holds Trevor's mouth open and pours some of the potion into it. All the students watch with bated breath to see what happens. After a few seconds, there's a small, and instead of a toad, Snape holds a small tadpole in his hand. The Gryffindor students cheer as Snape pulls a different vial out of his pocket, giving some to the tadpole. It resumes its normal form as Trevor.
5 points from Gryffindor. I told you not to help him, Miss Granger. Dismissed.
Students chatter excitedly, waiting eagerly to see what their new defense teacher will be like. Hermione still fumes from the aftermath of the potions class.
5 points, just because the potion was all right. I can't believe it.
The door to the classroom opens then, and Professor Lupin strides in.
Apologize for my tardiness. You may all put your books away. Today's lessons will only require your time.
This news is met with excitement. The students quickly rush to obey. Once all books are out of sight, Lupin makes for the door.
If you follow me then.
The students quickly stand and follow Lupin out of the classroom. They exchange excited looks as they make their way down the hallways. The door to the staff room opens and Lupin holds it as the students crowd in. They notice Snape in the room, drinking a cup of tea. As he watches the students, he stands and heads for the door.
Leave it, Lupin. I'd rather not stay for this.
As Snape leaves, he eyes Neville among the students and gives a sneering smile.
Possibly no one's warned you, Lupin, but this class contains Neville Longbottom. I would advise you not to entrust him with anything difficult, not unless Miss Granger is hissing instructions in his ear.
Lupin raises his eyebrows in surprise as Neville reddens in embarrassment.
I was hoping that Neville would assist me with the first stage of the operation. I'm sure he'll perform it admirably.
With a look of content, Snape sweeps out of the room. Lupin directs the students' attention to the front of the staff room, where a tall wardrobe rattles violently as Harry, Ron, and several classmates regard it warily.
Intriguing, yes. Anyone might want to venture a guess at what's inside?
That's a burger, that is.
Very good, Mr. Finnegan. Burgers like dark and cool spaces. Floor jets look out neat beds, the cupboards and the sinks. I even met one of the lodges outside of Grandfather's Palace. I've asked the headmaster of the staff leave it to give me a 30 years some practice. Can anyone tell me what a boggart looks like?
No one knows. Boggarts are shapeshifters, to take the shape of whatever a particular person fears the most.
The boggart sitting in the darkness with him has not yet assumed a form. He does not yet know what he'll find in the person on the other side of the door. No one knows what a boggart looks like when he's alone, but when I let him out, he means to become whatever each of us most fears. This means that you have a huge advantage of the boggart. Before again, have you spotted it, Harry?
Harry thinks for a moment before he comes up with an answer.
So many of us? It'll be confused as to what it should turn into?
Precisely. Now, charm that repels a boggart is simple, yet it requires a force of mind. You see, the thing that really finishes a boggart is laughter. What you need to do is force it to assume a shape that I find amusing. We practice the charm without wands first. After me, ridiculous.
Ridiculous!
So much for the easy part. You see, the encouragement alone is not enough. What really finished a boggart off is laughter. You need to force it to assume a shape you find that is amusing. Neville, come up here, will you?
Neville eyes the rattling wardrobe, steps forward queasily.
What you say is the thing that frightens you most.
Sir Snape.
Catch that, Neville. Sorry. Mr. Snape.
Everyone laughs good-naturedly.
Alone is not enough. What really finished a boggart off is laughter.
Lupin nods thoughtfully.
Yes, Neville. I believe you live with your grandmother. I don't want the boggart to turn into her either. You understood me. I wonder, can you tell me what sort of clothes your grandmother wears? Always wears the same hat. It got a stuffed vulture on top, and a long green dress. Sometimes a fur skirt. A handbag? A wide one, yeah. That's wonderful, Neville. Now can you picture the image very clearly in your mind?
Neville nods uncertainly, clearly very nervous as to what all this is leading to.
Good. Now, when the boggart bursts out of the wardrobe, Neville, and sees you, you'll see the form of Professor Snape. Now you'll raise your wand and say, ridiculous! Concentrate hard on your grandmother's clothes. If you guess well, Professor Boggart Snape will be forcing the vulture top hat, the green dress, with the big red hair.
Lupin now turns to the rest of the class.
The boggart will likely turn to each of us. I want you all to each take a moment and think of things that might really frighten you and how you might make it feel you.
The students all think for a few moments. Some close their eyes. Lupin turns back to Neville.
Alright, Neville, you're going to step back and let you have the floor. When it turns from you, I will call the next student.
He catches Neville's terrified look.
Do this, Neville.
Neville nods nervously, takes a deep breath. The students behind him all retreat against the walls.
Wands at the ready. A 1, 2, 3.
Sparks jet from Lupin's wand, strike the doorknob, and the wardrobe bursts open. Instantly, Snape appears, eyes flashing hideously as he stalks forward. Neville backs away in fright.
Neville, think. Ridiculous.
Snape stumbles in a flash of light and reappears in a long, lace-trimmed dress, towering moth-eaten hat, and crimson handbag. Instantly, the class roars, except for Draco and his fellow Slytherins. Neville blinks, amazed, then slowly grins himself. Lupin drops the needle of an old gramophone. As a scratchy rumba fills the room, he points to Ron.
On forward.
Snape dissolves into a mad whirling mass, then mutates into a giant spider. As Ron gasps, Harry and Hermione exchange an uncertain glance. Lupin puts his hands on Ron's shoulders to steady him. Ron raises his wand.
Ridiculous!
Roller skates materialize on the spider's hairy feet and it begins to shuffle crazily in place. Instantly, Ron relaxes as the class laughter rings out. As Parvati steps up, the spider spins faster and faster, a dizzying blur, then reappears as a vampire.
Ridiculous!
As the vampire whips its cloak across its eyes, hiding it from view, the cloak reopens, the class laughs, and we see that the vampire is now dressed like Carmen Miranda. As it begins to shimmy about, against its will, the class starts to clap.
Done. Dean, you next.
As Dean steps up, the vampire's undulating body attenuates, its skin darkening with diamond-thatched scales becoming a giant cobra.
Ridiculous!
The cobra's hooded head bobs back and forth, transforms into a jack-in-the-box. Lupin grins. Lupin turns, sees Harry step forward expectantly to face the boggart. Concern flickers through Lupin's face. The jack-in-the-box pivots on its spring, its face tumbling toward Harry, becoming more sinister. Lupin steps between them, whipping his wand out. The jack-in-the-box vanishes and a rolling mist appears, which becomes clouds. Something glows within the clouds, white, silvery and round.
Ridiculous.
The orb deflates like a punctured balloon, whizzes crazily about the room, then darts back into the wardrobe. The door slams shut, and the class cheers.
Everyone, I think that's enough time for today. Everyone who's faced the boggart, take 5 points, 10 for Neville for starting us off, and 5 more for Harry and Hermione.
But I didn't do anything.
Hermione answered my questions correctly at the start.
As the students exit, chattering loudly, only Harry, subdued, remains behind. At the doorway, Lupin glances back, exchanges a private glance with him. As they both exit, the wardrobe gives one last rattle.
And thank you everyone for listening to our production. This is the end of this episode, and again, wasn't it amazing? Again, thank you to all of our listeners for sticking with us, our actors and editors, and Timbone. Thank you very much, and stay tuned for our next episode of The Prisoner of Azkaban.